Today we're talking motivation, home buying motivation. What drives people, why they want it, do they really want it, or are we all just a bunch of window shoppers out there in the market? With that, let's see here. So let's start off with the big one, right? What if you're a homeowner, if you currently own a home, what would be reasons that you would want to be buying another house? Why are you looking to buy another house? What is your motivation for it? I know, Will, you said you come across this a lot lately with a lot of people, right? That, they have different motivations, or maybe they're false sense of motivations. I'm not sure. Maybe they're bored. What do you see out there right now?
Well, I mean, yeah, obviously that would contain buying another place. Typically, I mean, obviously the main common things that people want to make changes with is they want to upsize or downsize. Um, House is too big, the kids left the nest, they don't want to deal with maintaining 5 rooms anymore in the yard and this and that. So, the older parents want to move, but they're waiting on the rates to go down so they can hold off for a year or two. So, or the family's got a new baby and they need a new room for that baby, so they need to get another bedroom. But gosh darn it, we're gonna wait till the rates go down till for 2 years, and we'll just pack Timmy with Sarah in the other room. So there's a lot of that going on, waiting on the rates. I mean, obviously those motivations are there. It's just, there's obviously a dam to break with the rates until they, you know, who knows if they ever are, but there's obviously something holding people back with those motivations, but they're all there. You said people buying a second home, investment home, for those people that can afford that, that is still happening, quite a bit, but even that slowed down quite a bit, I think, with the investment side. People aren't seeing the revenue, as much cash flow from an investment as they did 2 years ago. So that's a little scary for people. There's always these little red flags or yellow flags or whatever you want to call them that are halting people right now. But there's a lot of those motivations. You know, Other than that, what do we see? People moving for jobs cross country.
Yeah,
Uh,
I think there's like literally an infinite number of reasons that people might be motivated. These are the common ones, right? And I think we're talking about people that maybe have a house or were looking to buy their first house or already have a house. It can apply to both, right? Different reasons for different circumstances. Like, you might be renting a 1 bedroom, but you're getting married and have a kid on the way, bigger home, obviously, or want something, right? Or like you said, you're moving. Those apply to somebody who's a renter right now and or someone who owns a current home right now that, like I said, maybe they can't afford it. Maybe they're getting older. Maybe they need a single story house. Maybe they want a double story house. Maybe they want a multifamily house. So yeah, I think there's a lot of different reasons for that. But I think a lot of people don't know what they want as well. It seems like, I don't know, maybe you hear things differently, but I don't think people are putting this market, and which is common for people, that we can't project far enough into the future, like what is a real end game of what you're trying to do or why you're looking. But people are looking at the now, right? That's why people care about the rates. They're not talking about later on. They're not looking at all the different aspects of what it could be costing them either way, right? Because it's not lopsided. There's balance. There's benefits on staying in the house you have or renting still,
right.
and buying a house or moving up or moving down or whatever the reason is. There's different benefits for those, and they outweigh them. And at the end of the day, everybody's different. So whatever your reason is, it needs to be tailored around your reason, not just a common denominator of why people would do it.
So yeah, you
So
don't mean the CNN headline is going to dictate my home buying process or purpose?
I mean, it does for a lot of people, but it shouldn't, right? I mean, that's the
Yeah,
problem, right? Everybody's worried about, again, rates. It's like the R word right now. It's a bad word right now because that seems to be all people care about when there's so much more on it. We've talked about it, like, like investors and stuff like that. I mean, I know people that'll borrow money at 30% to get a deal because it makes sense. So I guess the question on, what your motivation is what makes sense for what you're trying to do. Like, what is it? Are you on a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan, a 1-year plan? You have a family coming. Are you expected to have a family coming? These are, we've talked about before, but planning what you're trying to do, finding a road, finding a path, and actually staying on that path, or creating the template of your life, if you will, of the path that you want to go down to. And again, what does that look like in the end? Because if you're talking just rates, then what if the rates never go down? What are you going to do? Like, you're
Right.
off your game. You're not going to be taking the action that you need to get to wherever that end result is that you have, that is in your mind, that is your vision that you've built out. So yeah, so I think like finding that motivation is really, really important. And kind of, one of the things I look at with it is, finding out like, is the reason I'm looking or the reason I'm motivated to do something, is it a need? Do I have to? Is it an urgency? Like, do I have an urgency behind it? Or is it just like the Zillow shopper, right? Like, how many people just play on Zillow? I think they make memes about it nowadays. Like, me and my wife looking at our $2 million houses when we got $12 in our bank, like the
Right.
window shopper.
Right.
And I think there's a lot of that right now. There's a lot of hope and dream and maybe, and well, if the rates come down, then I can afford this. Well, you probably can't, because the value will be higher and the loan will be higher and whatever else happens
Right.
in life, because life is going to throw you curveballs no matter how well you try to plan it. It's not going to be, how you vision it right now. There's going to be a lot of roadblocks and different angles to get to that vision, if you will. So,
Right.
so yeah, I will say, like, if you're just window shopping, maybe you should stop and go put that energy in something else, right? Like, you're not really looking, you don't have a need or a desire. You have a false motivation, a motivation of a dream maybe, and not a reality of what kind of action you should take.
Right. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I mean, I think those people should just go, yeah, save money, obviously do all those right things, pay off your credit cards, keep your credit good. Those are just things you should do in general, regardless of anything. But yeah, if you're not, I mean, there's a lot. I think there's so many first-time home buyers, and there's so much just bad media, bad information out there, and the rates are higher, house prices are high, all those things apply. But I mean, I just think people are just so confused, and I think they're like, all right, let me shake off all this information. Let me just put it aside and let me wait. At the same time, I'm gonna keep an eye on this at a arm's distance, which is not great because you don't actually know what's going on. Like I said, we were talking about the CNN front page. You're reading blanket news that's 3 weeks old that was wrong probably in the first place, off of data that was wrong probably a year ago and is still wrong. So it's just you're living life with blinders on. So I agree with you. Yeah, just focus on something else if you're not ready. But yeah, I mean, those motivations need to play a factor, and you need to calculate and measure how motivated you are and how motivated you need to be able to pull the trigger and do something like this. Obviously,
Yeah,
it's a good
be
thing.
motivated.
We all hear good things, right? It's going to build wealth. You know, those are all true. Those are all true things. But like, what's stopping you? Look at those things that are stopping you. Like you said, what if the rates never go down? What if the rates settle at 7% for the next decade? What are those people going to do? I mean, what do you do? What's your end game there? What do those people do? They're never gonna buy a home.
Yeah, well, they're not serious. I like the most motivated people are the people that have to do something. Like, people that come from poverty are usually more successful because they have to do something to survive, to put food on their table, to provide a roof over their head or
Right,
whatever. That's a motivation. So you might, like I said, you might be in that 1 bedroom apartment and you might have a family coming and you might have to do something and it might be out of your comfort zone and you don't know how it's going to work out. But if you're truly motivated and there's truly a reason, a purpose behind
right,
it, then I think you'll need to make a decision. Just don't get caught in the confusion of what everybody's talking about these days, right? Because buying a house, whether it's your primary or whatever, it is a big investment opportunity that you are making, right? So, yeah, and it might not seem like there's much benefit by doing it, but that's all depending on how far you want to look into the future, right? Because there's a lot of benefit, and it might not be benefit now. It might be negative for the first 1, 2, 3, 4 years even, but then you might be able to take a look at that and find out where those benefits come out 5, 6, 7 years or 3 years or 10 years or whatever it is. But again, don't be arrogant and think you know everything or think you know anything, rather, if you haven't actually done an equal comparison. Like, actually look at these differences, right? Like, I mean, we have tools. You give us a scenario and, maybe from buying this house to renting, and we'll lay it out to you. And if renting's better, then you think about that. And if buying's better, you want to think about that, right? It's one half does the other. It's finding out what's best for you in your situation. But just make sure you have meaning behind your motivation. I think that's the biggest thing. Have a purpose. Do you have anything you want to say for home buying motivation? And we'll sign off here.
No, understand what your trigger points for your motivation to buy, refinance, move, change locations, upsize, downsize your home. Just understand. Yeah, I mean, you can always look back and be complacent and just be like, next year, next year, next year. You're going to be 50 years old without a house and renting, and it's just you're always going to think what I should have done or should have been. But reach out, ask a professional, ask whoever for that info, and dig a little deeper before you start. You're living in this gray area where you think that you know everything because reading the news, and you're living that way. You're living in la la in a gray area. That's you're not going to get anywhere that way. So
love it, love it, love
yep.
it. Yeah, stay motivated. Stay motivated with the purpose. Don't force things. Don't force the round peg in the square hole or whatever they say. Take a step back, reset, find out what the purpose is of your motivation, if it's legit or not, and then move forward and get help and get knowledge and educate yourself. It's so easy now on the internet. So hope that helps. Give us our little insight, our feedback on it. Again, for more information about that or looking at comparisons or just to talk to somebody, reach out to us. If you have other topics that you want us to talk about or we can research on, hit us up and we would love to do a video about it. Thanks, guys.